If you could challenge every faith leader in America to do one thing for their community, what would it be?
I would say make time for individual conversations with people outside of Sunday worship service.
That's what you said, Pastor Joe. It's the same thing you said.
No, see,
That was it. That
he
was
is my
it.
twin.
Have one-on-one conversations.
Hey.
Oh my God, I've got tears in my eyes. Oh my gosh, Pastor.
I guess that's why we've been joined at the hip
I'm
from a
telling you.
development point
Oh
of
my
view, you know?
gosh, that's so crazy. That's so crazy to me.
It's the foundational
real.
thing
It's
of
true.
everything that we do.
Oh
It's the
my
foundational
God,
thing
that
of
is so
everything
crazy.
we do.
That is so crazy. I can't even believe that. That is so crazy.
Look at that.
I'm telling you. Oh my goodness.
Look
That's
at God.
amazing.
Today, we're excited to have Dr. Gina Merritt on the show. Dr. Gina Merritt is the founder and principal of Northern Real Estate Urban Ventures and founder of Project Community Capital. For nearly 3 decades, she has been one of the nation's leading voices in affordable housing and equitable community development. Having participated in the development of more than 8,000 affordable housing units and billions of dollars in development financing, she has demonstrated that successful development extends beyond buildings to create pathways to economic mobility. Her work integrates affordable housing, workforce development, employment, financial empowerment, and strategic partnerships into a holistic model that strengthens community from the inside out. Let's join the conversation.
We are blessed today to have the nationally renowned developer, Dr. Gina Merritt, with us today. Gina Merritt, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for that amazing introduction. Thank you. Good to be here.
You are very welcome. There's truth in all of it. Thank you for joining us today. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, since there are many who may not know you and the fantastic things that you have done and are doing over your career.
I appreciate that. Well, I'm just a little girl from the Bronx. The Bronx, New York is where I grew up. I wound up going to Howard University for undergraduate. Actually was in the business school. Wound up going back to New York for a little bit and working on Wall Street. Then went to business school at the University of Virginia. And I kind of fell into real estate there. I actually thought I was going to do computer programming or something related to that, technology, which is what I went to undergrad for. But, you know, God had a different plan, right? Don't we know it? So I wind up going to business school and interviewing with a whole bunch of companies. One of them happens to be a real estate company. And when I started the interview process, I thought it was a construction company. And then they said, well, yeah, the construction is kind of our parent or affiliated company, but we're really a development company, and we don't have, you know, thousands of people. We only have 5 people, but we have their money and our small shop, and we are doing real estate development. And then I kind of got excited about that possibility of doing real estate development, like in communities where I grew up. And so, you know, I went along and said, okay, I think this is something I can do. I had all the requisite skills. I learned that from business school and sort of other places over time, even being young. I picked up a whole bunch of skills that would be helpful in this space. And then I showed up for my first day of work, and I get to the job site. It's 12 acres. It's 2-phase projects, tax credit deal. And I see a bulldozer, and I start bawling. And why, you might ask? Well, because from the time I was like 7 years old to the time I was like 15, a bulldozer would chase me in my dreams. Sometimes
Wow.
it would scoop me up, and sometimes it wouldn't. But I was terrified, right?
Oh, wow.
And then, yeah, so if you look at my life, it was like a circuitous route to get to be an affordable housing developer. So that's what I mean, God had a different plan, because I had no idea. I showed up on that job site. I saw that bulldozer. I was like, oh my goodness, God was trying to tell me this for years, that this is what I was supposed to be doing, even though I was doing technology. I was a coder. I did computer programming, and wound up being a real estate developer. So here I am.
Oh my goodness. You cried on the first day, on the job, huh? You crying
Oh
already.
yes, I
But
cried. Exactly. I couldn't believe
yeah.
it. It was
Sound
shocking to me.
sound like it was tears of confirmation.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. So, Dr. Merritt, what first inspired you to pursue affordable housing? Because I know that's kind of your bread and butter. What inspired you to pursue affordable housing?
Well, that's interesting because when I was in business school, right, looking for an employment opportunity, and this one came about, and these gentlemen told me, oh, again, we're not contractors, we're really affordable housing developers. That was their base business. I tell you, again, connecting this to God, I something sparked in me, right, when they said we do affordable housing, and I'm like, oh wow, like I grew up in affordable housing too, and I so loved my community, and I so wound up spending time with people who I thought were so gifted, so talented, but so underestimated, right, and overlooked. And so I was like, wow, if I could deliver housing to people in communities like the one I grew up in, I mean, it would make me happy about getting up in the morning. So I took that first job. I showed up at that job site. I saw that bulldozer, and then I dove all the way in. And I was able to create a career that really allowed me to flex my technical skills and to be able to utilize technical skills and do good at the same time. I just became so passionate about it. And so I did that for others for a few years. And then I decided when I went to California that I could do that on my own, and I could do that in a way that supports communities that really get ignored or taken advantage of by developers. So I wound up learning these development skills and then bringing those to communities who didn't have those technical abilities, who are really getting, taken advantage of in their communities in terms of real estate, right? There's a lot of valuable real estate in the communities I serve. And so I thought someone needs to protect their interests, and it's going to be me. So I started doing that as a consultant, and I did that for 2 decades. Then I wound up building national developers' affordable housing projects. And I wound up working on very, very complicated projects right over my career, including the Beacon Center, right, which took
Yes.
which took years and years and years to do, very complicated. Most developers wouldn't have taken that on because it was very complicated, but it also spoke to me so deeply that if I am capable of doing it, that I should, because someone has to do it, right? Somebody has to do these important projects. And so even though I don't make as much money as many others in this business because it takes so long to do my deals, I get another level of satisfaction being an affordable housing developer in the communities I
Yeah.
serve. So I'm very passionate about this work now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can feel
Wh-
that.
Is there or was there a particular experience, neighborhood, family that forever changed how you viewed the impact of your work over the years
Oh my word.
or
That's
project?
that's hard to that's hard to see, and this again feeds into what I'm saying about my passion about the work and the projects that I take on and how complicated they are because all of them have a family or families that have made a deep impact on my life. And I think also I'd like to say that I had a deep impact on theirs. Like there are many projects where we have helped people get units in our building that otherwise would have been rejected. We would do things like look at, for example, public housing residents in DC that were looking to move into one of the buildings I developed. Didn't have a great credit, had maybe very low credit scores, had some things on their credit reports that otherwise would have gotten them rejected from housing. I basically worked with those folks, got them to the resources that would help them sort of clear up bad credit or clear up outstanding, say, apartment debt so that they could move into our development because life happens. And the people that I was screening to get into the property had real reasons why they were in the financial situations they were
Right.
in. And you know, but for the grace of God, I mean, we could be in the same situation. So why wouldn't I entertain all of those families, at least give them a second chance, you know, to have a better place to live? So I would spend a lot of time, you know, with people, talking to them, figuring out what their challenges are to help them get into a better place. So I would tell you every project. That's the Nanny Helen at 4800 in Washington, D.C. That is, I worked on a project called Kenilworth 166. We were consultants to the Michaels organization. We helped a ton of people there, people who were having suicidal ideations. We got them mental health care and then got them employed. So it's funny because, right, my base business is affordable housing, but we wrap it with all kinds of other supportive services to make these huge impacts on people's lives, on families, right? In
Yeah.
my opinion, it's not just good enough to build housing, right? As the pastor would say, right? You're treating the whole person. And so that is what we do. We bring education, training, supportive services, employment, entrepreneurship, because that's what everyone needs in order to live in dignity, not just a nice place to live, but an economic opportunity so they can take care of themselves and their families. So I tell you, every single project I work on, there is always an individual or family that has touched me because one, they share their stories, which is so painful and so powerful. And then two, I do my darndest to help them with a solution to those challenges.
So you are steeped in affordable housing. Obviously, that's passion, as you've spoken. Affordable housing not easy. It's
Ciao.
it is it's a monster. Let me say monster as opposed to another word.
Exactly.
It is something else. And you would know this more than most that we are in an affordable housing crisis, not just in D.C., where you do a lot of work, but really across the country in so many ways. And a lot of people think that affordable housing, that the crisis around affordable housing is really that we need more units. And in certain situations, we may need more units. But what do you think? What do you think is being missed in this crisis, and what is needed to get out of the crisis?
Well, I think that there are two sort of angles here to do better in the affordable housing space, right? One is existing housing, right? There's a lot of existing housing that is in bad shape, and in bad shape because of bad owners, right? People who just wanted the upside of acquiring real estate, right? The value over time. And they have not reinvested in the properties like they should have. So you have properties that are falling apart all over this country that need an infusion of capital. And then I would say the other piece is the missing middle. I mean, I'm a tax credit developer, right? And tax credit development is always hard, and it always needs subsidy. And in this market right now, it needs even more subsidy, right? Because the costs are going up, but people aren't making any more money. So you really that has its own set of challenges, but there are plenty more resources for affordable housing than there are for, say, missing middle. And missing middle is something that so many people have tried to attack and have not been successful in implementing. Because you almost need as much money for workforce housing, missing middle housing, as you do for tax credit housing, right?
Right.
Because you don't have the tax credits for workforce development, although there was something, and I meant to check that before I came online, which was there was a bill out there a while ago that was introduced that would be a workforce tax credit. So that would be for apartments that are built at 80% of AMI. And if that bill were to be passed, that would give you a huge infusion of capital that you don't have now in that space. And that's real, especially in these high cost markets, right? Like Washington, D.C., San Francisco, New York, where the cost of living is so high, right? And the rents are so high that people in the missing middle, they're overqualified for tax credit housing, but then they wind up spending more than 50% of their rent on market rate housing. So that group of
Yeah.
people still, we have been unable to help that group of people. And honestly, because tax credit development now is so hard because of the lack of subsidy, I'm sort of entertaining a couple of workforce development projects, but they have similar challenges, which is that they need a ton of money because you don't have the tax credit equity in that case. You still need subsidy to make the numbers make sense. And, so I'm hopeful that someone will tackle that, through subsidy and through a tax credit. I mean, that could go a long way to serve a population of people who honestly have been largely ignored, I mean, for decades upon decades. It is difficult for a physician's assistant and a police officer married with 2 kids to afford to live in a major city. So they make too much money for tax credit housing, but they're going to spend all of their money trying to rent a place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So what systems do you think need to be in place to break that log jam that you're talking about? Because obviously we're in the midst of, right? We're in the midst of together a workforce housing missing middle project right now. In your mind, what systems need to exist to break that log jam, to see that the funding comes to this group in particular, and to what systems need to be in place to create greater opportunity for people living in affordable housing that's not just housing? And you touched on that a little bit, but can you go a little deeper with regards to the systemic pieces that you think are needed?
sure. Honestly, in some places, I would say probably in most places that have tax credit and affordable housing supports, the infrastructure is already there, right? For most of these places, it's about a legislative solution along with which, you have to tie to a budget solution, of course, right? You have to legislate in a way that allows a budget line item for any municipality to be created that would house those financial supports, right? Part of it is like legislative and regulatory. You've got to say, this is what we want. We want this fund or we want this tax credit to support this type of housing. Then you've got to create the vehicle for this, money to go into, or the program, say, at the existing Department of Housing in whatever municipality you're in. It's another program that has to be run. So you have to create policy, regulations around a program to implement workforce housing. Then you've got to create legislation and a budget line item in order to have the funding to do it. So most municipalities have a system and have infrastructure to deliver tax credit housing. So to me, it's augmenting what you already have to add another program component that would serve this population of people. So setting up a missing middle fund, for example, right? I mean, besides municipalities, I would say philanthropy could do that too, right? Philanthropy is also very supportive of affordable housing, and they typically want to help the most in need, right? I mean, you have a whole group of folks we know that are living under the poverty line, and you want to be able to go very deep in terms of affordable housing, subsidies, and very low rents, and philanthropy has been there to support that. But I also think, again, there's this group of people in our society that miss out on true economic opportunity because they're spending so much of their money on housing costs, right?
Yep.
So a philanthropy
Yep.
could also help figure out there, and tie things to it that make sense for philanthropy, right? Like, for example, we do small business consulting. I mean, so philanthropists could say, we'll give to affordable housing projects or workforce housing projects if there's some, business consulting for small businesses so that people can earn more revenue and then be able to pay more rent, right? Things that you can do. Again, economic empowerment is just not for people that live in lower income communities, right?
Right,
Or underserved
right,
communities.
right.
Economic empowerment could also be for the missing middle, right? People who want to start businesses, but they're afraid to step out. One, because they can't take the risk because their rent is so high, So,
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
think philanthropy also looking at this as a challenge, as a social challenge to help support this group of people who then struggle to create generational wealth and equity because, again, they're in this space where market rate is too much money to spend and they have to spend it anyway and they don't qualify for affordable, right? It's that whole section of people that people don't pay attention to. So philanthropy, and then it's up to municipalities to really believe in that space and understand how challenging it is for those folks to actually to grow their families, to have more children, to be able to save money to buy a house. If you're spending more than 50% of your income on rent, you'll never be able to save enough money to build generational wealth, right? To get out
Yeah.
to own a house or to start a business, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're. So I think philanthropy and cities really have to figure out if they're going to help that segment of the population, which, very few have helped, if at all, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you for that.
That's real good. Real
So, your work, Dr. Merritt, brings together the whole pot that's needed to make a project happen. Consultants, nonprofits, the government, community organizations. What makes those partnerships successful? And in the event that churches are involved or faith-based institutions, where do they fit in that ecosystem?
So I would say, it's so important in partnerships for your interests to be aligned, right? And every partnership isn't necessarily a good partnership. In fact, we did have that experience on the Beacon Center as well, that, we started off with partners who we thought were good partners, and then they showed through their negotiations of a joint development agreement that they really weren't good partners. So thank God we found that out early. Thank you, Jesus.
I mean
And
to tell
they
you.
and they exited the deal, and we were much better off for it, right? And the other piece to me in terms of partnerships, especially where the faith-based community comes in, is I feel like the faith-based community needs to understand that it's okay to make money too, right? As a place to start, because I've worked with churches in the past who had no problem like putting in their land for free. I don't think churches should do that. Churches are businesses too. The church as a partner in a real estate transaction needs to also understand that it is okay to make money too. And in fact, the church is a business. And so if the church has a mission, whatever that mission is, you need money. That's just the reality to implement your mission and vision, right? For your congregation and for your community. And you can't do that without money. So when you're, working on a real estate transaction, don't ever let a developer tell you, oh, you should put your land in for free. Never.
No, because churches are trying to build generational wealth too, right? And community
Exactly.
wealth, right?
Exactly. And how can you do the things you do if you're going to give away your land for free to developers to build housing on? So definitely getting what your property is worth in a transaction, you should be doing. I always say churches should never sell their property, but they should just do a long-term ground lease and capitalize that, right? So you can
Yep.
get the money up front, and there you go. You get to do all kinds of great things with the money you get up front. And then also, you should have skin in the game, right? As a partner in a transaction, you're really getting what you're inputting. So if you're a partner that doesn't have any money, right? We know the term sweat equity. It's typically you're doing all of the development work in a transaction. That's what allows you to earn your interest in a project if you don't have capital to put in. Otherwise you're putting up your own money. Again, like the Beacon Center. I always use the Beacon Center with folks who come to me to talk about their projects. I say, you need to be like Emory. Emory went and raised their own money that allowed them to implement their vision. Because the group with the money is usually the group that implements their vision. Right? And so a development partner who's putting out $2-3 million of capital up front to pay the architect and the engineers and the consultants and for the building permit fees and the financing fees, they really get to dictate what happens at your project. That's just typical because they're the ones taking all the risk. So if you're a faith-based organization, I think it's prudent for you to raise your own money, and then you can control your own destiny, which is what Emory was able to do at the Beacon Center. We brought a developer on at the last moment in terms of partnership, and the project was already designed. And the project was designed with Emory's money. So to bring a developer on board at that point, it's like, right, either you're going to go with this deal the way it is,
Right.
or you're not going to be the partner. But
Right.
Emory was able to control their own destiny and got the most beautiful, impactful, compelling project, done that neighborhood has seen, probably in forever, right?
Yes. Yes.
So churches as partners need to understand how much value they add in a partnership and get what they deserve.
It's
Absolutely.
interesting to hear a developer say that. Would you say?
Very much so. I don't know of any developer that would say that except for me.
We appreciate that.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
So, for houses of worship or congregations that have never participated in community development, what roles can they begin playing today if they have a need or a desire for doing affordable housing or any other project on their property or adjacent?
I would say a good place to start is start participating in some of the conversations around development that come through a few channels. One is the local zoning hearings. Actually, that can teach you
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot
that's a
about,
big deal.
right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
teaches you a lot about development, right? It teaches you a lot about development. It teaches you a lot about the mindset of the municipality you're in, right? I mean, they elect certain leaders to be on these panels and commissions, and that voice is really supposed to be a voice for the city, community, as well as city interests. And it certainly helps you understand what's important to them, right? And again, it teaches you a lot about development because those panelists and sometimes community members that participate, they're asking lots of questions and it's informative. So you learn a lot through the process in terms of what the development issues and challenges are of the day. And I think, again, it's a way for the church or members of the church to get educated. There are also lots of nonprofit housing organizations that you can belong to. I would say your faith-based CDC should sign up to become members. They usually have workshops and panels and conferences also that provide tons of education and information around affordable housing. And then, once you learn a little bit, enough to be dangerous, then I think it's about figuring out as a congregation and a community what it is you want to pursue in terms of real estate development at your particular church site. And then it's about, what piece of it you're going to do yourselves and what piece of it you're going to need a partner for. Those are obviously much deeper conversations to have, much more thoughtful conversations you need to have, with your constituents, right, your congregation, your community members. But I think at the end of the day, when a church is not an expert, right, they do need an expert partner, but one that fits and is aligned, again, with their interests, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's what it's about, finding that right partner and not just jumping in. I've seen churches have come to me and just said, oh, well, I'm going to go with so-and-so because, they're willing to give me some money up front, okay? And then in the end, you will get burned. I'm sorry, I've seen that too many times also, where I've begged churches not to go with this developer or that developer, and they did. And in the end, they would come back to me and say, Gina, you were right. We shouldn't have because we got nothing out of that transaction. Okay. I mean, it's a real thing. And,
Vision and mission has to be aligned, right? Vision and mission
it
has
does.
to be aligned.
It does because, I mean, not all developers are greedy and bad developers. I don't want to say that. There's a lot of good mission-driven developers. But you really need to take your time, figuring out who the appropriate partner is for you that, again, is aligned with your mission and vision.
So you're beginning to outline a playbook, right? I'm hearing some things that are coming with, I would call the Dr. Gina Merritt playbook. Can you discuss what your development philosophy is? And can you talk about what are the foundational building blocks that a faith-based organization ought to have in place as it pursues a development project?
Sure. So the way my development philosophy has always been about how can the project that I build have the most impact in this neighborhood? And there isn't one formula for each neighborhood. So,
Right.
right? And
Because each
so
neighborhood is different, right?
each
Yeah.
neighborhood is different.
Yeah.
So what I usually do is I go into a neighborhood and I just talk to people. I have what's called a street team, and the street team is a critical component of the work that we do. It is the beginning of structuring a project, which is that before we go and show pretty pictures and talk about what we're going to do to people, we just get to know people. We typically go door to door. We talk to people. We find out what's going on with them, what they're interested in. We will do events in the community before we go to talk about buildings, right? A lot of the communities we work in are also people are food insecure. Again, they're looking for employment. They have startup businesses. They need help. They can't afford to go get a formal education. So we're in communities doing that kind of work before we even start having the conversation about what we're developing. And then once we start that conversation about what we're developing, we're continuing to do this community work. We'll be in because we do these complicated projects, we're usually in a community 3, 4, 5 years before the project even starts. So we've spent a lot of time with people understanding what's important to them and getting their participation and getting their input on the work that we're doing and understanding what their needs are. And then we bring all of those things to a community, right? Again, not just housing. So our philosophy is to have the most impact in a community that we can have based on what the community actually needs.
A street
And so,
team. A street team. This is good
yeah.
stuff. How
that's
large
nice.
is your typical street team?
Well, it's usually like 3 to 4 people. You know, we don't want to overwhelm the community, but we just have 3 to 4 people like hanging out in different parts of the community. Again, somebody might be hanging out in the barber shop. You know, somebody will be going door to door, you know, in an apartment complex. Somebody might just be sitting at the grocery store, right, in the parking lot, like talking to people. So we just talk to people to figure out, you know, again, how they feel about their neighborhood, what they think is missing, you know, what's important in terms of the quality of housing that already exists.
Do
And
you?
all of those,
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, all of those data points are important to understand both the narrative and the basically numbers. Because the other part of what we do when we're about to go into a neighborhood to develop is we pull census data that tells us what the unemployment rate is, what the not in the labor force participation rate is, what's the percentage of people who have health care or who have access to the internet, what is the income strata, you know, those making under 35,000, those making under 75,000. Like we do the data analysis, right? So we get the numbers and we get the narrative, because both of those things then are going to lead you to doing a certain type of development, right? You can't
Do
just
you?
go. Your numbers are real, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do this on your own? Do you do it in partnership with the faith-based organization you're developing with? And I'm asking this because, as you know, at Emory, we did this. We did this this community assessment as a church, and you were doing it obviously as a developer, and we partnered, or we connected the dots in what we did together. What do you suggest the best way is
Well,
in
I
this?
think, you know, if you're a church, you should be always doing that, to tell you the truth, right? Whether you're
Right.
building a building or not.
Should know.
I mean,
Exactly.
you are an institution in a community, and you know, folks from the community obviously participate in your institution. So I think as a church, what you're delivering to your community also needs to be what they need, right? Not what you on high, perhaps as a pastor, dictates, right? And
Right.
so, your approach has always been about treating the whole person in a community, treating the whole community. And the only way you get to do that is if you're out there figuring it out, right? Out there having those
Exactly.
conversations. And so, and
You
so
got to
what
be out
happens
there.
sometimes,
Yep.
you got to be out there, because what happens sometimes in these partnerships is if you're partnering with a developer who just builds affordable housing and doesn't do this part, maybe that's what makes the partnership work, because the church is going to be the one in the field doing the work, collecting the data, as long as your development partner is one that will receive it, right? I think it's important in any partnership to have a role, right? Everybody has their lane. And it might be that the church's lane is to bring the community along and to figure out really what the community needs. But that development partner has to also, again, being aligned with mission and vision, has to understand that, this is what the community is interested in. I'm doing a project, for example, over in Deanwood, and the community did not want any more affordable housing. So if I was going to do, so I'm doing a workforce housing project. It's not tax credits. It serves a higher tax bracket. Even though I'm an affordable housing developer, really, I can build anything. But I had to do, in that case, the numbers proved it out also that it would work, right? I did all my market analysis and my research to prove out that I could do a workforce project here that would be successful. But at the same time, of course, I had to listen to the community and what their interests were. So those two things have to be aligned, right, in order for a project to make sense.
What are the biggest mistakes you see organizations take when they're trying to do community revitalization?
I would say, okay, let's sort of summarize this. One is, as you said, choosing the wrong development partner. Two is not raising your own money. So I've hinted to these things already, so that you can control your project. Giving away your land for nothing. Giving away your power in a partnership. Not having a role defined and having that role defined on paper. Not being able to have decision-making authority. That is a huge one. In any partnership, there is a section called major decision making, and it lists all the decisions that you have to make together, regardless of your interest. And what's interesting is, even in deals that I do as an owner, if my partners are, less than 50%, which in most of my deals the nonprofits are, because I'm the one doing all the work typically, and providing the financial guarantees, right? So in terms of fee structure, I would retain most of the fee. I still give my partners, my junior partners, equal decision-making authority. Just because your interest is less shouldn't mean your voice should be any less, right? Now,
Right.
as the guarantor, I do have the right to step in and do what I need to do to protect the financial interests of a project, but that's if we can't resolve issues any other way. But the reality is I'm in partnerships with people that I respect. And so, of course, I want to share that decision-making authority with them, again, regardless of the percentage interest. That is critical for churches in the development space, and I've seen too many give away that power, and they shouldn't. Just because your interest is less does not mean your voice needs to be any less.
I love it. I love it. So, from a financing point of view, go a little deeper. What do congregations need to do to raise their own money, to bring their own money to the table?
Well,
Outside of, obviously the traditional ones that churches do typically, but what ways you think churches can pursue to bring their own money to make a development deal happen, or to be a partner that can come alongside you and accomplish what together you want to do?
well, I would say, Beacon Center, of course, is always such a great example. The Emory positioned itself, the faith-based arm of the organization, right, as a community player for a long time. And so it already had the respect and track record that it delivered on a lot of goods and services to the community. So the fact that the government agencies saw, Emory Beacon of Light as a nonprofit institution, community driven, that did what it said it was going to do. When it came time to get money from the government to facilitate housing projects on the early end, pre-development, you were able to apply for that funding and get it. So part of it is having a real track record, right? I think it's difficult for a church out of the blue to just say, "Oh, hey, we're going to do development now." So I think, and everybody wants to be a developer. That's just the truth. But you have to take your time. I mean, one, it's hard, but two, I think you have to build up a track record for delivering community development services in order to be taken seriously by the government or anyone else, a lender, an investor, a grantor, right? So I always say, start small, build your capacity as an organization, and then it'll be that much easier for you to go to, various resources to get money. And again, the Beacon Center is just proof of that. Besides raising money from your congregation believed in the vision, and I think that also helps when you go other places to find money. When the congregation puts their money where their mouth is, when the congregation puts their own money in this thing, invests in themselves, lenders and investors are going to want to ride alongside of that, right? Because now you've got skin in the game, you've got something to lose. So that's real. And again, that ties back to the partnerships that I think have challenges are ones that just go in saying, yeah, take the land, developer, you can build whatever you want. As long as I get X dollars in the end, which again, they usually don't receive. If you start out with your mission and vision, your congregation is committed to that, they invest in themselves, you do things in the community that demonstrate a track record, then when you turn to the private and public investment community, it's hard for them to say no, because you've proven yourself already. You can say, the congregation put $1 million in. What? Okay, well then I look crazy not supporting that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If you're willing to invest in yourself, then as a municipality who needs affordable housing, why wouldn't I invest in you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, looking forward, what are you most excited about? What projects or initiatives that are you most excited about in this next season or current season?
Oh, yeah, let's see. Well, I tell you, one of the things that I need to be excited about or be able to be excited about is getting the current projects in my pipeline closed, because we are in an exceptionally challenging environment, right? Especially in the DMV because of all of the layoffs from the federal government. It has created a challenge of perception in this market. I would say the good thing or the reason why I'm still excited about delivering my projects is because my projects are unique in that way in terms of delivering services to the community. Employment, entrepreneurship, education, training, supportive services, right? That comes with our housing delivery. And we are able to keep lenders, investors, and municipalities very interested in getting our projects done because they are so super impactful, right? We're not just building housing. So the next phase after that really for us is working towards helping other developers or property owners deliver these same services. That is unique to our model, and it's what keeps us successful. But I think I would really love other developers to partner with us on resident services. We are a nationally certified resident services provider now. We can do resident services for ourselves and for others. I think it's so important, especially in these challenging times when people are having trouble, right, paying for gas and health insurance and groceries, that those working class folks who are having trouble need support. And a lot of these property owners and property managers could provide that if they engaged an organization like ours through our platform called Project Community Capital, could help them help the people that live in their developments. A lot of folks, in the DMV aren't paying their rent. And with our street team and our ability to go door to door and talk to people and to earn their trust, we are able to get people to pay their rent or leave. I mean, in the real world, as a property owner, you need people to pay their rent. And so, if you're offering them help, like you could through us, to figure out what is the reason why they're not paying their rent and helping them solve that, then that's great. There are people who are just not willing to pay their rent. That's also a real thing. And if not, then hopefully we can convince them to leave, because leaving at least prevents you from getting an eviction on your record, so that the next place you go to is difficult to get into, right? So the next phase for us is to really dig in deeper with people who are having challenges during these difficult times, and help them, help them reduce those challenges, and try to support their lives moving forward.
Yeah. Looking ahead 5 to 10 years from now, what gives you the greatest hope for the future for equitable community development?
Well, certainly, if I have anything to do with that, my hope is that all affordable housing developers will change their models in terms of how they deliver affordable housing, that all developers will understand how important it is to be all affordable housing developers, how important it is to be community developers, to not just go into communities and build buildings, but to go into communities and help build that community.
Yep.
Help add value to them, help improve their economic opportunity. Because far too long, underserved communities have been underserved because no one invests in the whole community. So my grand hope for 5 to 10 years from now is that affordable housing developers get that, and they partner with churches, and they partner with folks like us who where impact is so important and changing people's lives for the better is so important, and allow us to walk alongside us and to build better communities so all of us can thrive.
This is great, Gina. This has been fantastic. We are so grateful for you sharing
Thank
your
you for having me.
expertise. Big time.
Thank you.
We typically come down to the close of our time together. Tiffany and I talk about the Faith Development 4. The Faith Development 4. First and foremost, what does faith-based development look like in action for you?
The belief that you can deliver more than housing for people, that you can deliver a better life.
That's great.
Looking ahead, what is one opportunity or challenge the faith-based development ecosystem must address over the next 5 to 10 years?
The faith-based community must focus on their ability to raise capital so that they can control their own destiny.
That's good. Who in this ecosystem that we're building in this faith-based community, in your estimation, who in this ecosystem do we need to hear from?
I think people with power in our institutions, like corporate institutions and government institutions, need to speak to how important it is for the faith-based community to do its work, and because I think those voices of power will help deliver the policies required for its implementation.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you had to name some of those, who would they be? If you had to name one or two.
I would say that's I'm in this business where you don't really call out people's names, okay? Because you got to be on the right side of all this. I would say, yeah, I'm not going to say specific names more than I'm going to say something like like the president of some of the nation's largest financial institutions.
Gotcha.
Right? One, because they have philanthropic dollars. They could be at the forefront saying, There's a lot of underutilized land right now, right, with churches since COVID. Lots of people haven't come back to churches. So churches are becoming smaller. And like, who really controls the resources that churches need to do this work, right? So I would say the leaders of financial institutions, right, putting their money where their mouth is. A lot of those institutions are faith-based people, right? They go to churches, synagogues, mosques, right? Like all faith-based leaders should be in a space right now where they're trying to redevelop their property in their communities. And so these folks who control financial institutions could be louder, I think, and more supportive of those institutions to ensure that they get to deliver much needed housing and services. So that's certainly where I would start. I mean, those people go to church, those people go to synagogues, those people go to mosques, right? Show me the money. Show me the money.
That's true.
Good.
I love it.
That's good.
Okay, last one. If you could challenge every faith leader in America to do one thing for their community, what would it be?
I would say make time for individual conversations with people outside of Sunday worship service.
That's what you said, Pastor Joe. It's the same thing you said.
Oh, see?
That was it.
He is my twin.
Have one-on-one conversations.
Hey.
Oh my God, I've got tears in my eyes. Oh my gosh. Pastor.
I guess that's why we've been joined at the hip
I'm
from a
telling you.
development point
Oh
of view,
my
you know?
gosh, that's so crazy. That's so crazy to me.
It's the foundational
real.
thing
It's
of
true.
everything that we do.
Oh
It's the
my
foundational
God,
thing
that
of
is so
everything
crazy.
we do.
That is so crazy. I can't even believe that. That is so crazy.
Look at that.
I'm telling you. Oh my goodness.
Look
That's
at God.
amazing. Yes, look at God. Holy cow. Unbelievable.
Dr. Gina Merritt, we truly appreciate your time and your wisdom, your expertise. It's been a blessing. It's been fun. Where can people find you? If they want to connect with you, maybe they have a church project, or if they just want to follow your work, where can they find you?
They can find me at drginamerritt.net is my personal website, and you can send me messages through that website. And then you can always look at my company's website, nruv.com, to check out what we're doing. But definitely reaching me through Gina Merritt, drginamerritt.net. And then I would say, if interested in our resident services work, you can check us out at projectcommunitycapital.net.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
It's been
This
a
has been
pleasure.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this conversation encouraged you and inspired new possibilities for your community. Until next time, let's continue putting our faith into action, one community at a time.